Hello and welcome. I am Sneha Sengupta, student from the Department of Humanities. Today we'll be discussing something very prudent, the supreme law, that is the Constitution of India. Let's get started.
Our difficulty, as I said, is not about the ultimate future. Our difficulty is how to make the heterogeneous mess that we have today take a decision in common and march in a cooperative way on that road which is bound to lead us to unity.
Ever imagined why we observe 26 November as the Constitution Day? What went behind the making of the Indian Constitution, which is purported to be the world's largest constitution, the lengthiest written? Well, let's decode some unknown facts about the Indian Constitution. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the father of the Indian Constitution, rightly quoted that however good a constitution may be, if those who are implementing it are not good, it will certainly prove to be bad. However bad the constitution may be, if those who are implementing it in a good sense will certainly prove it to be good. The Constitution involved a cumbersome process of 2 years, 11 months and 18 days to get drafted. Finally, it was approved by the Constituent Assembly on November 26, 1949. Now let's understand the entire timeline of events which was involved in the making of the Constitution. First in line is 9th December 1946. It was the first ever meetup of the Constituent Assembly. Going by the French norms, it was headed by Sachidanand Sinha, the President of the Constituent Assembly. He was accompanied by key personalities, the then President Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Drafting Committee's Chairperson Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and B.N. Rao, the legal advisor of the Constituent Assembly. Thereafter, making around 2,000 amendments, rounds of debates, deliberations and negotiations, finally the first draft of the Constitution was prepared on 26 November 1949, on 26 January 1950. This was the very date when we also adopted the national emblem of India. Before moving ahead, let's have a clear look at the given picture on the next slide. Can you spot something in common? It's heterogeneity. This brings us to the next fact of the Indian Constitution, which is heterogeneity. It simply means that people from across different domains were a part of the Constituent Assembly. The original copy was signed by around 284 members of the Assembly on January 24, 1950. The first ever signature was interestingly etched by the then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, succeeded by Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Around 15 women members were also present in the board who were purportedly part of the drafting committee as well. Initially, the original copies were written in 2 languages, that is English and Hindi. Interestingly, despite being the world's lengthiest constitution, it was not printed at the first phase. It was beautifully etched into flowy calligraphy letters by Mr. Raizada. The English version comprised of more than 1 lakh words, for which a whopping expenditure of around rupees 64 lakhs. The Constitution comprises of 470 articles divided into different components, around 12 schedules which have received amendments around 105 times till date, of which 2021 has been the latest one. Each page of the Constitution, the original copy to be precise, have been designed by the artist of Shantiniketan. Now you must be wondering where the original copies have been stored. It's stored in the coveted library of the Indian Parliament, intact in a helium-filled box. The ideals of the Indian Constitution have been clearly inscribed on the preamble. The preamble, which declares India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular and a democratic republic, has also laid and ensured for his citizens the right to justice, equality, fraternity and liberty, all of which have been adopted from different constitutions of the world. Just like the statutes have been enacted from the British Parliament, the parallels of liberty, equality and fraternity have been derived from the French Constitution. The 5-year plans were derived from the USSR, the erstwhile Soviet Union. The laws governing the apex, which is the Supreme Court, have been enacted from Japan. The suspension of fundamental rights during the time of emergency have been retracted from the Constitution of Germany. One of the most important elements of the Constitution, which is the preamble, have been retracted from the United States. Lastly, the concept of republic, which have been clearly mentioned on the preamble, have been derived from the French Constitution. Thereafter, we enacted, adopted and gave ourselves this Constitution. Thank you.